You begin as something soft enough to be destroyed by accident. No eyes worth trusting. No legs that can carry you anywhere useful. No stinger raised in defense. Just a pale, folded body buried in the hot, damp machinery of a nest that never slows down. Around you, thousands of others press through tunnels of packed soil and saliva and rot, their bodies brushing against yours in a constant tide of movement you do not understand. The air is thick with dirt, fungus, pheromones, and the stale heat of too many living things crammed underground. You do not enter a world, you are processed into one. Before you can stand, before you can feed yourself, before you can tell danger from the bodies of your own kind, you are already inside a system that decides what you are worth. Worker ants touch you with their antennae, taste your chemistry, sort you with the rest of the brood. If the nest is moved, you're carried. If the chamber floods, you're carried. If food runs short, if disease spreads, if the colony is stressed badly enough, even your future becomes negotiable. You survive because others do not let you die yet. That is the first rule of your life. Nothing about your survival belongs to you. The nest around you is not calm, it is organized panic. Fire ants do not build peace, they build pressure. Every chamber is temporary, every tunnel can collapse. Every vibration in the soil could mean rain, hoofbeats, claws, steel, poison, another colony pushing too close. You are born in darkness but not in safety, never safety. Only shelter for now. When you are young, your body is a problem someone else has to solve. You cannot forage, you cannot defend yourself, you cannot even clean yourself properly. Worker ants feed you mouth to mouth, passing liquid food from their own crop into yours, and if they stop, that is the end of you. Hunger is not a feeling you can act on. It is just a slow failure waiting in the tissues. Everything important is done to you. You are groomed because pathogens love crowded nests. You are repositioned because temperature matters. Too cold and development drags or stops. Too hot and soft tissues fail. Too wet, fungus blooms. Too dry, the brood desiccates. Your life depends on adults constantly moving eggs and larvae through the nest like living inventory, shifting you between chambers to keep you inside a narrow strip of survivable heat and moisture. Even then, most of what protects you is fragile. A boot on the mound, a hard rain, a shovel, a lawnmower blade, insecticide sinking through the soil, a predator tearing into the nest after the smell of brood. Ants from another colony breaking through the walls and turning the nursery into a battlefield. You are at the center of the colony's future, which makes you both protected and dangerously valuable. And if the colony must choose between saving itself and saving every one of you, it does not choose you. That is another rule. You matter only as long as the system can afford to keep mattering to you. By the time you begin to change, you start to understand the real shape of your life. This colony is not a family, it is not a community. It is a machine made of bodies, chemicals, and hunger. Workers lay trails, soldiers bite, queens produce, brood develop. Every role is pushed by instinct so old and rigid it may as well be geology. Nothing asks what you want. Biology has already filled in the answer. If you are a worker, your future is labor so total it erases the idea of self. If you are reproductive, your future is risk on a different scale. Either way, the colony does not exist to make your life meaningful. It exists to make more colony. All around you, the workers keep the machine running. They excavate soil grain by grain. They drag food home in pieces. They attack anything that tears the mound open. Fire ants are infamous for their sting, but the sting comes after the bite. They latch on first, lock themselves in place, then pivot and inject venom again and again. Even their defense is intimate. Even pain is delivered with method. You are still not part of that battle, not yet, but you can feel it in the nest chemistry every time alarm pheromones burst through the chambers. A disturbance above ground becomes a chain reaction underground. Bodies speed up. Brood are grabbed and moved. Workers pour toward the breach. The whole colony shifts from routine to violence in seconds. This is the world raising you. Not kindness, not patience, just efficiency under threat. Your body hardens because softness does not survive for long here. You pass through metamorphosis hidden from the surface world, sealed inside the nest while workers tend you, clean you, guard you, and wait to see what emerges. You do not choose your caste. Nutrition, colony condition, chemistry, developmental pathways older than memory decide what shape your life will take. When you finally come out pale and weak, you are not finished. Your cuticle still darkens, your strength still builds. You are a new adult, but not yet a capable one. Then the work begins. If you are a worker, your life narrows immediately into function. At first you handle tasks inside the nest. Brood care, cleaning, feeding others, maintaining the tunnels, the air tastes of soil and acid in bodies. Every contact with another ant is information, every trail is instruction. Pheromones paint the walls of your world so completely that thought barely needs to exist. Something must be fed, something must be carried, something must be repaired, a dead nestmate must be removed. An intruder must be swarmed, a tunnel must be reopened before airflow fails. You are not free enough to become exhausted in a human sense, but your body pays for it anyway. The colony keeps expanding and expansion costs lives. Fire ants forage aggressively. They exploit scraps, seeds, dead insects, living prey, sugary secretions from sap-feeding insects. Opportunity is everywhere and never enough. Sooner or later you go above ground. That is when the world gets larger and crueler. Sunlight hits like exposure. Heat bakes the soil until it burns through your legs. Open space means birds, lizards, spiders, other ants, sudden water, crushing feet, machinery. Toxins laid down by creatures too large to notice you individually but dangerous enough to erase thousands of you in an afternoon. A trail that seemed stable vanishes under a flood of rainwater. A food source turns out to be defended. The surface smells of abundance and death at the same time. You follow the pheromone line because that is what your body is built to do. And lines lead straight into disaster all the time. The sting is the thing outsiders remember about your kind. It is not a gift, it is a requirement. When the nest is disturbed, you do not flee unless fleeing serves the colony. More often you surge, you climb whatever broke the surface. Skin, fur, feathers, fabric, bark, you bite to anchor yourself and curl your abdomen beneath you, driving the stinger in. Venom burns into tissue, then again, then again, then again. The pain you cause becomes your species' reputation, a chemical warning written into flesh. But a weapon like that comes with a life built around escalation. To defend the nest this way, you have to get close enough to die. You have to expose yourself to crushing swats, teeth, claws, water, heat, poison. Your sting works because you commit your whole body to the attack. For a creature your size, every fight is a collision with something enormous. Even success is expensive. You live in a colony that spreads fast, fights hard, and competes with other ants just as desperate as you are. Raids happen, borders blur, chemical identities are challenged at contact range. Sometimes the enemy is another fire ant colony, equally numerous, equally armed, equally willing to spend bodies for ground. You meet them antenna to antenna, then mandible to mandible, and the soil itself seems to boil with motion. No one wins cleanly. If the weather turns, your famous adaptability becomes another burden. Fire ants are notorious for surviving floods by linking their bodies into rafts, workers gripping one another and holding brood and queens above the waterline. It looks ingenious from a distance. Inside it is claustrophobic endurance. Living bodies packed into a floating knot while current drags you through a drowned landscape. No solid ground, no control over direction, just sunlight, hunger, and water under everything. Some survive because others become structure. Even your miracle is made of sacrifice. For most of your life, you work and vanish. That is the worker's bargain. No mating flight, no descendants of your own, no old age worth naming. Just labor until the body fails, until a predator takes you, until poison reaches the colony, until injury or depletion slows you enough that the system moves on without noticing. But if you are born into the reproductive class, your life is not easier. It is merely concentrated into a different kind of brutality. You grow wings. Inside the nest, you are fed and prepared for a single violent transition. At the right season, when warmth and humidity and colony condition align, the alates rise, winged males, winged virgin queens. You leave the ground in a swarm that looks from far away almost elegant. Inside it, the sky is a lottery. Predators wait for these moments because your kind turns reproduction into spectacle. Birds snatch you midair, dragonflies intercept you. Spiders take those that land badly, wind scatters you far from suitable ground. Males exist for one job and die soon after doing it if they manage to do it at all. Your body is built for a brief transmission of genes and then irrelevance. If you are a future queen and you survive mating, the real punishment starts after the wings come off. You tear or shed them. That famous image sounds triumphant until you remember what it means. Flight is over. Now you are alone on the ground with a body loaded for colony founding, soft enough to be eaten, exposed enough to dry out, conspicuous enough to be killed by almost anything. You search for somewhere to dig, somewhere hidden, somewhere the soil holds just enough moisture, somewhere no rival queen has claimed first. You do not get many mistakes. Once underground, you seal yourself in and begin the founding phase. No workers, no protection, just stored reserves, shrinking energy, and the slow, desperate production of your first brood. You lay eggs in darkness and wait while your body consumes itself to keep the future alive. Muscles break down, fat reserves vanish, time stretches. If conditions are wrong, the chamber becomes a grave. If mold grows, if soil dries, if a predator digs you out, if you misjudged the place by inches, your colony ends before it begins. And even if your first workers hatch, nothing is secure. Many new colonies fail. Rival ants kill them, resources run out, disease moves in. Human management arrives with poison measured precisely for creatures like you. Fire ant success as a species is built on countless queens that never make it. You only notice the winners because the dead leave no mound. If you are a worker, adulthood is not a plateau, it is erosion. Every task abrades you. Legs wear, joints strain, mandibles dull. The outside world cuts, burns, drenches, starves, and poisons. The inside world never stops demanding. Brood need feeding, tunnels need repair, food must be found, enemies must be met at the edge of the mound and underneath it. You do not retire, you do not step back. When your usefulness drops, the colony does not grieve in any meaningful way. A living machine cannot afford sentiment for each damaged part. If you are a queen and your colony succeeds, your suffering simply changes shape. You may live far longer than the workers, deep in the nest, laying eggs while the colony swells around you. That sounds like security until you understand the arrangement. You are protected because you are productive. Your value is almost entirely reproductive output. Your body turns into a factory with instincts attached. Workers feed you, clean you, move your eggs, and defend you, but all of it is in service of scale. More brood, more workers, more expansion, more pressure on the landscape, and more pressure from it in return. A successful mound attracts attention. Predators tear into it for protein-rich larvae. Competing colonies push at the borders. Floods threat. Cold slows development. Heat shifts workers and brood through the chambers in frantic adjustments. Humans notice the stings, the mounds, the damage, and respond with extermination campaigns designed to wipe out whole colonies at once. Survival at your species level does not make individual life safer. It only makes the battlefield larger. And then one day, your body stops meeting the colony's demands. Maybe venom gets you before age does, maybe weather does, maybe poison, maybe a boot heel, maybe a bird tongue flicking you from a foraging trail, maybe you simply wear down inside a life that never included rest in the first place. However it happens, the ending is rarely grand. A fire ant life usually disappears the same way it is lived, as part of a larger process that does not pause. The mound remains, the tunnels breathe, eggs are still moved from chamber to chamber. Alarm pheromones still flare at the slightest breach. New brood lie in the dark, soft and helpless, waiting to be sorted into a system that will use them completely. That is the final cruelty. You spend your whole life inside a colony built to outlast you, and if everything works exactly as biology intends, the only reward for surviving is making sure the next ant is born into the same nightmare.